I'm going to pivot a little bit and just talk about, again, just stuff that's happening in the world. I know that when we first got on this call, I mentioned just how, I know you're Canadian, and I'm British, so we may have a different take on some of these things, but just in the news recently, it's been a while since I've heard about mass shootings. And obviously this week there were 2 mass shootings in Atlanta and in Colorado in Boulder. And it really got me thinking again about about mental health and how, mental health is it's such an important topic of conversation, but also gun reform. And it's again, social media really incites such an interesting discourse sometimes because, gun reform absolutely needs to happen, in this country. I just, how many more lives need to be needlessly lost by a person who has access to assault rifles? I think the struggle for me is that, especially say in somewhere like Georgia, where this one horrible shooting happened at all these spas and all these, tragically, a lot of Asian women were targeted, and, just so much unrest racially in this country, so much unrest, especially last year politically, thank God, not that that's gone, but at least there is a little hope on the horizon. But my thoughts regarding, gun reform is, if it's harder to vote than it is to purchase a gun, we have a fundamental flawed problem with the way we are governing. And I'm just curious, as a Canadian, what your thoughts are on this, because it's so maddening to me that nothing really consequential gets done.
It's so unbelievably disheartening. And obviously, last year I was as ready as I've ever been to leave America.
Right.
And then I sat with myself and thought, I don't know what I can do, but it's our generation's battle to fight.
Right.
It doesn't matter where you're from.
Right.
Being Canadian, I am very anti-gun. I don't think anyone should have access to guns outside of the military, possibly even including police. I think that I think guns have been made, the fact that guns are as accessible as cell phones is unacceptable.
It's a weapon of destruction. It's a killing machine. Yes.
And we are at a place where technology has taken over the human race in a way that I can't even begin in ways that we can't possibly fathom, because it's just they slid it in really quietly. I think what's happening in this country in terms of gun control is pathetic. I think that things need to change so fast. I hope that the current leadership has the wherewithal to do something to change it. Ultimately, and to come back to social media, we're all built so intensely these days on numbers, on approval rating. And that should just never be a consideration when it comes to the lives of innocent people. And I think that the problem that we're dealing with, and we haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg, and that's why gun control needs to be dealt with sooner rather than later, is the government of this country was not ready for this pandemic. They handled it incredibly poorly. The testing, the way that COVID spread through.
In many countries, though, however, I think about the UK and how the UK is so, it's been such a interesting, not to segue on what you're saying, but this pandemic has affected people both by getting sick, both by the huge human toll that this has had, but also on people's mental health.
That's where I was leading exactly. The testing and the vaccinations were nothing in compared to the mental health crisis that we're about to see happen in the world. When you tell people to be afraid of one another for 1 calendar year, and then I don't know how they're going to roll this out, but immediately they're just allowed to be in public together. Restaurants are open. People can go out in public. You hope that the instinct is towards joy and compassion.
Right.
More often than not, it isn't.
Right. Right.
People lead with fear. And that is why it's so problematic that people have access to guns, because they're more afraid of each other now than ever.
Exactly. And there's been more division than ever. And also just, again, I think the mental health component of both the pandemic and even with gun reform, it makes me angry when it's like, no, we don't need gun reform. We need mental health reform. It's like, no, we need both.
Yeah.
We need absolutely gun reform, and we need better access for people who are in crisis, for to have access to social services. I think sometimes in this country, and again, because I'm in a privileged position, I can access mental health help when I'm struggling. I can reach mental health help if somebody in my life is struggling. But, if you're, again, which really imparts to a lot of even artists we know. I mean, I know so many musicians who have leaned on, say, Music Cares over the years, and how pivotal Music Cares has been in order to get sort of struggling musicians the help and care that they need, especially when they're in a mental health crisis. But just how sad that is in today's world, that, again, I just know so many people who are coming out of this pandemic with exactly a lot of fear, but a lot of mental health issues. And I would just love to see, the conversation about mental health to be free from stigma, free from shame, free from anything. It's just, it is.
Hey, if you like that video, you can see the whole thing at our Patreon page. That's right, just hit the link that you're seeing on the screen right now, and it'll take you there. And you can become a patron today and help us keep launching new artists and bringing left-of-center art and activism to a wider audience. And can't wait to see you soon.